Hi everyone, I am back for the third in my book club series on how to manifest. So I have been reading through with you all this lovely book, Manifest: 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life by Roxie Nafousi. Now, for anyone that hasn't watched book club number 1 and book club number 2, I strongly suggest that you go back and look at those because I'm reading through the book in order. And as I've said before, just a quick reminder for anyone joining us the first time, the reason for me doing this is manifesting is a very big part of my life, along with meditation. So I wanted to share this with you because I strongly believe the more we incorporate some of these brilliant tools into our daily habits and daily life, the better things become with us. And then my daughter found this lovely book and I thought it was so clearly explained, so much better than I could do it, that I thought, why not read through it with you? And people have been buying the book and following along. And so I'm reading through section by section, making a few comments of my own along the way. And it's really great to have you all joining us. Now, as I've said before, this is not, my glasses will skew over. This is not a substitute for you buying this book because my purpose and intent is to raise consciousness through curiosity, to try new things, or if you are already a manifester, to get back into the habit of doing it regularly, because these things, it's all very well knowing about it, but you've actually got to do it as well. So what I'm hoping is this will encourage you to buy your own copy of this book and support the lovely author, Roxie Nafousi, because when we vote with our money, we really are supporting ethical people, ethical companies who are trying to make the world a better place. So if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, this is the third one in my series, please go back. And today I'm starting on step 2, which is removing fear and doubt. Fear and self-doubt have always been the greatest enemies of human potential. Quote by Brian Tracy. The most important thing to understand about manifesting is this: you do not manifest from your conscious thoughts alone. You manifest from your subconscious beliefs about what you deserve. This means that you can only manifest what you truly believe you are worthy of attracting into your life. According to research, only 5% of our cognitive activity is conscious, whilst the remaining 95% is subconscious. That means that 95% of our thoughts, reactions, decisions, perceptions, and behavioral patterns are driven by the subconscious parts of our brains. When you consider this, it's easy to understand why our subconscious would then have such a profound influence over the reality we create. But while our subconscious has unlimited power to drive us towards our dreams, it also has the power to hold us back from them. This is because our subconscious is home to 2 things that block any manifestation: fear and doubt. Fear and doubt come in the form of insecurities, limiting beliefs, feelings of unworthiness, and lack of trust in the universe's ability to provide for us. Fear and doubt sabotage our manifesting abilities by subconsciously sending a message to the universe that we aren't worthy enough or ready to receive the things that we desire. Fear and doubt are so powerful that they can prevent us from even imagining what we want. They literally create blocks for us at the very first step of our manifesting journey. Let me show you how. I would like you to take a minute to pause and visualize the exact income you wish to manifest in the next financial year. Write down that figure on a piece of paper now. When you look at this figure, can you honestly say that this is your dream salary? Or did you write down a figure you believe you could realistically manifest? Now, that's on page 26, and I'd like you to all pause this video and actually do this exercise. It's really important that you do the exercises that are stated in this book. As I said, it's all very well listening, but it's really important we actually do it. So the good thing about videos is you can pause them. Fear and doubt often mask themselves as friends. They tell you they're protecting you from the inevitable disappointment, when in reality, they are actively holding you back from unlocking the abundance of the universe. Ask yourself now, when making your vision board in the previous step, did you stop yourself writing down some of your deepest desires because something within you told you that are unachievable and there was no point adding them in? Your limiting beliefs can prevent you from even visualizing what you want in life by telling you that your dreams are simply out of the realm of possibility. Now, this is my input. You'll notice as you get familiar with me reading this, when I look up, it tends to be me adding my little bit. So I have done vision boards with a lot of people over the years, and I do find that people often limit themselves because they let what they perceive their reality kick in. So please, please be honest with yourself about this. A couple of months ago, my best friend Leah came over because she wanted me to help her begin her manifesting journey. We lit candles, set the scene, and I took her through a visualization meditation. We then laid out large sheets of colour paper, magazines, and marker pens, and got started on making our vision boards. I could see her hesitating every few minutes, going to write something and then stopping herself. I paused and asked her, "What are you not writing down?" And she replied, "I just want to be realistic." When we shared our vision boards with each other after we had finished, I saw that she had crossed out 10 new clients and replaced it with 5 new clients. When I asked her why she had done that, she said it was because she didn't want to put something down in case it didn't happen. As she's my best friend, we talk endlessly about the things we want to achieve in our lives and the dreams we have. I could see that she had also completely avoided writing down some of her deepest desires. One thing was for sure, fear and doubt had a hold on her. I did the very same thing in the beginning of my own manifesting journey. It was New Year's Eve, and unlike the previous 10 years, I decided not to spend the night getting drunk and then struggle through the first day of the new year with a raging hangover, but instead to spend the evening at home, cooking my favourite meal and sitting down to make my vision boards, something that has now become my New Year's Eve ritual. I'd just begun creating my first ever 5-year vision board, and I could feel so much resistance and self-doubt coming up as I was doing it. For example, I dreamed of being on stage delivering one of my self-development workshops to thousands of people. The reason for this, I want to empower as many people as I can to realize and see the infinite power they have within themselves to heal, evolve, and live the very best version of their lives. I want to contribute in any way I can towards making self-development as fashionable and mainstream as clothes are. That's my purpose, my passion, and my goal. When it came to it, though, I couldn't bring myself to put it on my vision board. I was so embarrassed by the thought of writing it down and it not coming true that I denied myself the opportunity to even consider it possible. My fear was trying to protect me from the threat of failure, but it was also preventing me from manifesting something I wanted. I realized that creating a vision board can do more than simply help you visualize what you want to manifest. It can give you an opportunity to understand your fears and doubts more clearly. Every time you hold yourself back from writing something on your vision board, ask yourself, why am I holding back? What limiting belief is driving that? By identifying your fears and doubts at this stage, you give yourself an opportunity to start working on healing and removing them so you can unblock your path to manifesting everything and anything you want. When I came to create my next vision board, I challenged myself to write down every single dream I had, no matter how big or small, and I refused to let my insecurities stop me from doing so. When we give ourselves full permission to dream, our fears and doubts have nowhere to hide. Try this. If your previous vision board was limited by fear and doubt, go back and amend it now, or create a brand new one that honestly represents all the things you really want. Before you do this, say to yourself, if fear and doubt were no object, this is what I would like to manifest into my life. Put down every single thing you want to attract. Dream big and don't hold back. So it's really important that you pause the video here and go back and look at your vision board and recreate it or add to it if you feel that you've been holding yourself back. I really can't express to you how important that is and how satisfying it is and how exciting it is when you do it. So pause here if you need to and go back and do that exercise. To manifest anything into your life and to do so effortlessly and effectively, you must believe you are worthy of having it. Read that again. So I will. To manifest anything into your life and to do so effortlessly and effectively, you must believe you are worthy of having it. Read that as many times as you need to make sure that goes in. For example, let's imagine you're an artist and you want to manifest successfully selling your artwork. You can visualize yourself displaying your art at a gallery you love, and you can imagine exactly how it will feel to sell your work. But if you don't, deep down, believe that you're good enough or worthy of praise and celebration, then you will not be able to attract the opportunities for your work to be appreciated. We attract not just what we feel, but what we believe. You simply cannot manifest when fear and doubt stand in your way. So, to progress in any manifesting journey, you must first identify and then work to remove the fear and doubt roadblocks. This is what I call inner work. This is self-development in action. At this point, it's important to acknowledge that the inner work required to remove our fear and doubt is ongoing. Some of your limiting beliefs may be relatively easy to observe and let go of, while others may be more deep-rooted and require a great deal of attention, time, and commitment to work through so that they no longer have the power to limit you. The majority of us have an endless list of limiting beliefs, insecurities, and doubts that we have accumulated from our early childhoods to where we are now. They plague our consciousness and subconscious minds and block us from unlocking our greatest potential. This is why step 2 on my 7-step guide to manifesting is one that you will keep coming back to and again throughout your manifesting journey. Frequently asked question: what is a limiting belief? And the answer: a belief is formed when a thought has been repeated so many times that it becomes automatic. Our beliefs drive our behavior. So when a belief that we have is holding us back in some way, it becomes a limiting belief. For example, if we grew up being told over and over again that we are unlovable, we eventually believe it to be true, and the way we behave will be informed by that belief system. This may mean that later in life, we will accept being treated poorly by others, or we will subconsciously seek out toxic relationships to support this self-limiting belief. Beliefs can be formed in childhood, adolescent, and adulthood. Before I go on, I would like to tell you a little story about my own relationship with fear and doubt. When I look back on my life before I discovered manifesting, I was drowning in insecurity. My self-loathing was debilitating, and my lack of self-worth impacted on every area of my life. I was conscious of it at the time. My inner critic was far too loud to ever be ignored, but it all stemmed from a place deep within me, my past experiences, and from memories that live within my subconscious. My own journey to removing fear and doubt was the most valuable and profound I've ever been on. It's a journey that is still ongoing, and I continue to work on this step every day. I've become acutely aware of my thoughts, and when fear and doubt begin to speak, I take a moment to catch them, consider where they're coming from, and then take immediate action to heal them, using some of the tools I'm going to take you through in a moment. One of the many limiting beliefs I held was this: I would never be successful in my own right. Growing up, I'd always wanted to ensure that I would have financial stability in my life. Like many people, I wanted to feel comfortable in a home that I loved, and I didn't want to have to worry about paying bills or providing for my children. But I grew up believing that in order for that to happen, I would need a husband who could provide that for me. I told myself I wasn't capable enough or intelligent enough to become a successful and financially independent woman in my own right. Then, at the age of 21, I fell madly, deeply, head over heels in love with someone 25 years older than me. I was completely besotted with him, and the 2 years we were together felt, at the time, like a fairy tale. He made me feel so safe and adored, and he imparted so much wisdom to me and taught me so much, which shaped the person I've become today. But he was also an incredibly successful, wealthy man, and he provided me with a certain lifestyle that I would not otherwise have experienced at that point in my life. This reaffirmed my limiting belief that I needed someone else to support me. I began to place all my value and self-worth in him, and when the relationship ended abruptly, I was devastatingly heartbroken and suffered a complete loss of identity. In truth, before I discovered manifesting, I used all my romantic relationships to make myself feel validated. In my mind, I was only ever as good as the man I was with, and my self-worth was always directly related to the person I fell asleep beside. At the time, I was totally unaware that I was stuck in this pattern, but unsurprisingly, all those years I made virtually no money myself. I was unable to secure jobs, and I had no direction, purpose, or motivation. My own fears and doubts prevented me from manifesting any work or financial independence and from stepping into my own light. Shortly after I discovered manifesting, as I described earlier, I met Wade, the father of my child and now my best friend. This time, I had met someone who's my equal and not someone I looked to for validation or someone who would enable me to escape my own world by bringing me into theirs. Instead, Wade offered me something so much more magical: unparalleled emotional support, unconditional love, and the freedom to be completely and utterly myself. I believe that meeting Wade was one of the best things that ever happened to me, not just because of our beautiful son, but because I don't think I would ever have been so driven and focused on building my own career to the place it is now without him by my side, helping me to see that I was enough. As I began to manifest more and more, I finally realized that I was completely able to provide myself with all the financial stability and validation that I dreamed of. I didn't need anyone else to provide it for me. I knew that the only things that had ever held me back from having it were fear and doubt. Fear that I wasn't smart enough, worthy enough, or good enough, and a subconscious doubt, influenced by both my upbringing in the media, that it was possible for a woman to carve out a successful career for herself. I worked through each fear and doubt and committed to healing it. Between 2018 and 2020, my income increased tenfold. Now, as I write this, I'm proud to say I've provided myself with all the financial stability I dreamed of as a child. I can take my son on holiday, I can pay my bills without worrying, and I can spoil the people I love most. The power was always within me. I just had to unlock it first. Identify fear and doubt. When you look at the things that you want to attract into your life, you must first commit to being open and honest with yourself in order to recognize what fears and doubts you currently have about being able to manifest them. Start by asking yourself some questions. Do I really believe I am worthy of it? Do I really trust that I would be able to handle it? Do I really believe it's possible for me? What insecurities do I currently have surrounding this? What limiting beliefs are holding me back? I invite you now to take a moment to think about just one thing that you want to manifest. See it clearly in your mind's eye, and then spend a few minutes trying to identify what fears and doubts come to your mind when you think about really having it. Try to identify as many as you can and write them down in the space below. Now, what I like about this book, which is why I've got my own copy and my daughter's, is there's little reminder boxes and exercises and space to do them throughout the book. So I would really encourage you to be honest with yourself and do that. Note, however quiet the inner voice is that keeps you from fully believing in yourself, bring it to light and write it down. Even if your thoughts feel irrational or unreasonable, write them down. Acknowledging each detail of your fear and doubt will only empower you to let it go. So here I want you to take a pause and do the exercise on page 33, which is writing down what you want to manifest, and then honestly writing down what fears and doubts you have around this. Take as long as you need to do that exercise. So just pause here and make sure you do that exercise before moving on. It's really important. Take a look at the fears and doubts you've just identified and understand this. It is these limiting beliefs and insecurities that are currently holding you back from living your best life. The more aware you become of them, the less power they hold over you. Awareness is always a starting point for any self-development journey. Simply by completing that exercise and identifying your limiting beliefs, you've already begun the process of healing them. I suggest that you repeat this exercise for every single thing that you want to manifest, or at any point when you feel stuck in your manifestation, to help you recognize your current blocks. Become a mindful observer of your day-to-day thoughts, and when the voices of insecurity begin to speak, take note. The more easily you're able to identify them, the more quickly you'll be able to let them go. Remove fear and doubt. Removing fear and doubt is a self-development in action. This is the work we commit to every single day, to removing limiting beliefs, to realize our worth, to unlock our potential, and to rediscover the inner confidence we were born with. This is the inner work we commit to so that we can successfully manifest the life of our dreams. This is the work we do so that we can live a life that's not limited by our own insecurities, but flourishes with the power of the universe. So how do we do it? There are endless ways that we can begin to heal fear and doubt. But here are four I found particularly powerful that I want to share with you. Number one, master your thoughts. Number two, watch your language. Number three, use mantras. And number four, practice visualization. Note, for some of you reading this, your fear and doubt may have stemmed from trauma, or it may feel too overwhelming to begin working through it alone. If this is the case, working with a therapist, holistic healer, psychiatrist, counselor, or other mental health professional can be a necessary and valuable investment to help you heal and work towards removing the fear and doubt, alongside the suggestions below. That's a really important point. Always seek and ask for help if you need it. It's really, really worth doing. So number one, master your thoughts. I begin this chapter with an important lesson. We do not manifest from our conscious thoughts alone, but from our subconscious beliefs about what we deserve. While this is true, we must not underestimate the power of our thoughts and the influence they continuously have over our subconscious. The subconscious mind obeys the conscious mind. So whatever we consciously think, our subconscious will perceive to be true. That's so important. How do you talk to yourself? And how do you talk about yourself? Most of us have a voice inside our head that will speak to us in pretty unkind ways. It will tell us we are unworthy, unlovable, stupid, disgusting, boring, and any other disempowering characteristics it can think of. This voice is the expression of our fears and doubts. In my webinars, I do an exercise where I ask everyone to say something kind to themselves. For example, I will encourage them to repeat inside their heads or out loud, I am wonderful, I am beautiful. The people in my life are so lucky to have me. I'm perfect exactly as I am. I love myself. Afterwards, I ask them to tell me how it felt to do that. Every time, the majority will say that they felt silly and uncomfortable speaking to themselves in that way, even when no one else could hear them. Then I ask them to say something like, I am worthless, I'm never enough, and I ask them how that felt. Too easy, they tell me. I do this short exercise to demonstrate just how natural and effortless it feels for us to speak to ourselves in limiting ways, and how unnatural and challenging it feels to speak to ourselves with love and respect. I can relate to them. I spent 2 decades looking in the mirror and saying things like, you're hideous, you're a loser, you're miserable, you'll never be enough. I spent every single day berating myself for simply being me, and my inner voice was constantly feeding my devastatingly low self-esteem. I gave my insecurity a voice, and with that voice, it grew. There came a point, though, when I simply was exhausted by it all, and I just didn't have the energy to inflict that verbal abuse on myself any longer. Perhaps some of you reading this are now feeling exactly like that too. I realized that I was never going to be able to step into my fullest power and unlock the life of my dreams if I continued speaking to myself in this way. I made a choice to start showing up for myself and to become my own cheerleader. I did it even though it didn't feel comfortable. I said kind and loving things to myself because I knew my subconscious would hear it and believe it to be true, even if I didn't. Once I started to choose the thoughts that supported me and empowered me, I began to feel an internal shift in my confidence. If I could sense I was about to voice something negative or limiting, I would catch myself and instead say something like, "You're doing a great job. You can achieve anything you put your mind to. You are strong. You can do this. It's okay." I knew that every time I used the power of my thoughts in this way, I was boosting my manifesting power. Within a month, I noticed that this was beginning to feel natural. And within 2 months, it became a leading inner voice. I really started to believe the things I was saying. And I meant it when I said to myself, "You got this," or "You should be so proud of yourself." I mastered my thoughts to override the fear and doubt. I urge you all to become your own cheerleaders too. That's so, so important. It really is. If we know that our subconscious is driving us I'll start that bit again. If we know that our subconscious is driving us to our manifestation, then we must use our conscious minds to influence our subconscious beliefs. We must feed our subconscious with the empowering thoughts to increase our self-worth and boost our manifesting power. Our thoughts shape our reality in another way too. Remember, in the introduction, I explained that thoughts generate emotions and that different emotions have different vibrational frequencies. This means that if we can master our thoughts, we can change our emotional state. And if we change our emotional state, we can change our vibration. If we change our vibration, we change our reality. So when we consciously choose to think positive and empowering thoughts that trigger high vibe emotions, such as confidence, enthusiasm, and hope, we will attract more abundance into our lives through the law of attraction. However, if we allow fear and doubt to express themselves continually as a negative voice or an inner critic, they will lower our self-worth, trigger low vibe emotions such as fear, shame, despair, or worry, and block our manifestations. We can only have one thought at a time. I remember hearing that for the first time and wondering why something so obvious had never occurred to me before. If we can only have one thought at a time, then surely we can just choose to replace a negative thought with a positive one, right? And the answer is yes. But we are creatures of habit, not just in what we do, but also in the way we think. The National Science Foundation, an independent health agency based in the US, found that we have, on average, 60,000 thoughts a day. Of those, approximately 80% are negative and over 90% are repetitive. To begin to undo repetitive, negative, and limiting ways of thinking, we must commit to the consistent practice and repeatedly choose to nourish our mind by replacing the negative thoughts with empowering ones. Commit to it in just the same way you would commit to forming any other new habit. Each time you find yourself thinking, "What if it doesn't work out?" ask yourself, "What if it does?" Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," say, "I'm perfect exactly as I am." Instead of imagining the worst possible outcome, imagine the best. Remember, you have the gift of choice, so choose a thought that pushes you forward rather than one that holds you back. Do not allow negative thoughts to roam free, unregulated and unmanaged. Take ownership of them and start to practice managing your thoughts so that they can work for you rather than against you. As well as replacing thoughts, we can also work towards removing our fear and doubt by reframing our perspective. No matter what we experience, we always have an opportunity to choose which lens we view it through. The perspective we tend to choose it is usually dictated by our general mood, our expectations, our past experiences, our belief systems, and our self-worth. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation, but perceive it in very different ways. For example, have you ever been in a restaurant with a friend, and when you leave, one of you says that it was a perfect evening, whilst the other felt the restaurant was too loud, the food was average, and the staff were inattentive? Or have you ever had an email from a colleague when you were in a bad mood and felt personally attacked and completely infuriated by them, only to reread it the next day and realize that you had totally misinterpreted their tone? Our perspective is informed by many external factors, but we always have the power to choose one that will serve us. In fact, reframing my perspective is a technique I use most frequently to overcome any fear or doubt that creeps in throughout the day. Whenever I sense myself starting to worry or doubt something, I pause and see if I could offer myself a new perspective. For example, I called my sister just last week to tell her how disappointed and upset I was that an article I had written had not been published. My inner critic was trying to convince me that it was because my work wasn't good enough and that the editor had decided she didn't want me writing for their publication anymore. After voicing this out loud, I remember I had the opportunity to choose a different perspective. Instead, I chose to focus my thoughts on how proud I was to have written the article and how grateful I was to have asked at all. I came up with 3 alternative scenarios as to why the article had not yet been published, none of which had anything to do with me. The editor hadn't seen the email, they had other articles they needed to publish first, and they had decided to take a different direction with the piece. In a matter of minutes, I moved away from my negative perspective and embraced a more liberating one. My article was published the very next morning. When you see that you're interpreting a situation from a place of fear and doubt, ask yourself, what is another perspective I could choose? How could I reframe my thinking here? For example, if you go on a date with someone and the next day you don't hear from them, you have a choice of what perspective you can take. If you allow your fear and doubt to dictate your perspective, you might start to question what you did or said was wrong. You might decide that this is further evidence that you'll never meet the right person for you, and you may allow it to stop you from opening yourself up to future dating opportunities out of fear of feeling rejected again. However, if you adopt a more positive and empowering perspective, you might choose to consider that perhaps the other person is not in a place in their lives to meet someone right now, that the two of you just weren't the right fit, and you would still feel excited about the journey to meeting your soulmate. Remember, we manifest what we believe we are worthy of. Start to become aware of your thoughts, then choose to replace those expressions of fear and doubt with the thoughts and perspectives that will raise your self-worth and self-belief. So we're halfway through that section. I'm going to finish there. It's on page 40, and I will be back in a couple of days with the rest of this section. These are all things that I have to remind myself of constantly, and it's like anything, the more we practice them, the easier they get. So if any of you have got friends on here, or even in the comments below, if you can work on this with someone else who's working on a similar thing yourself, you can help each other by picking each other up if you need to reframe something to be more positive. I'm really lucky, like, for example, with my conversations with Bryce, for example, we're really good at picking each other up and making sure that we can reframe things and look at a different perspective and things. And it's so, so helpful. But if you don't have that, you can do it yourself. You've got everything you need to within you. It's just a question of making that decision and starting to treat yourself differently. So thank you so much for listening today. Please do let me know how you're getting on with this, with all these exercises in the comments below. And I've loved on the previous videos to see how supportive to each other you've all been in the comments. So thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this because for me, each time I go through this, it's a reminder for myself. I pick up different things each time. I think, okay, I've let this slip. Let me get back on top of that. So I'm going to be going back and doing these exercises, and I will see you next time. Thank you all for watching or listening.